out there really starting to thicken up. Not that we saw a lot of sun earlier or really any sun, but it's appearing darker because thicker clouds are moving in, and that's all part of this major system. So I wanted to start out with the sky cams just to give you an idea of what's going on in case we had any flurries. Not really seeing any of those pop up on any of our cameras here. There could be a couple of regions out there that are seeing some very light returns, and satellite and radar is trying to fill in those gaps. But another thing you'll notice is that the bulk of the snow, you're looking at it towards Kalamazoo to Grand Rapids line right now. This little area of returns that you're seeing over Lansing and Jackson right now on satellite and radar, pretty much all of that not actually reaching the ground. What's happening right now is we have a very steady east-northeast, very dry wind that is undercutting this event. So while we might be getting radar returns in the higher elevations in the atmosphere, and maybe there are some snowflakes up there more than likely seeing these returns, they're not quite getting to the ground just yet. But this snow is going to intensify. That dry wind is going to kind of erode itself out here, and we're going to see the snow, especially at the rate in which it will fall, and you'll know what I'm talking about when you see it this evening, because we all will, is going to be enough to overcome that. And so eventually we are going to see this fill in as the afternoon goes on. Even though you're seeing returns right now, we might not actually see snowflakes for another hour or so until they start to overcome that dry air. So today and tomorrow, especially in the morning, first alert weather days we highlighted across the area. So here's what we've got heading out with today. The snow is going to start mid-afternoon. It's going to end overnight tonight. I've got a broad 4 to 7 inches plus possible. Now, we've been fairly consistent, at least with the bottom end of this range. There was a potential we were looking at maybe a wider swath of 6 to 8 or something originally. We've dialed it back a touch just to fine-tune the forecast for you here, but I feel pretty confident in saying that pretty much the whole area is going to see at least 4 inches out of this system. Now, for a lot of us, it's probably a 4 to 5, maybe 6-inch snow event. But the reason we include the 7 plus on there to be possible is because somewhere within this event is going to be a band of snow that forms, and whoever is directly under that likely gets maybe more than 7 inches. But it is virtually impossible at this stage to tell where that's going to set up. We really have to see things like that play out in real time, as chaotic as the atmosphere is, to really get an idea of where the heavy banding will be. And so for most of us, this is going to be probably a 4 to 5, maybe 6-inch snow event, and the timing in which it falls is going to be of most impact. So this evening, travel is expected to be very poor. Roads will deteriorate in a hurry headed into our overnight, and then as we get out into our Thursday morning, we're still dealing with blowing and drifting snow tomorrow. That's another thing to keep in mind with this first alert. And so we do have winter weather alerts to address. We just officially began the winter weather advisory at 1 p.m. That will carry until 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. That's for all area counties in the purple shaded area here. Now, winter storm warnings as you get towards the thumb and north of Saginaw Bay, those are for a little bit more snow than what we're seeing, but to be truthful with you, it's not much. And so really looking at the advisories versus winter storm warnings, yes, the totals might be slightly higher over where that pink shaded area is, and they may also get a little lake effect in those areas too, at least more than we will coming off of Lake Michigan tomorrow. But this is more or less a very impactful event on high end no matter where you are, whether you're here or in the thumb for us. Especially this evening, roads will deteriorate rapidly, as will visibility. So a wide view satellite and radar shows that system. It's really the bulk of it still in Illinois right now. You see a little portion of it is in northern Indiana and far southwest Michigan. That'll be kind of the first wave that gets here, but the brunt of this system is right back there near Chicago, and that'll be settling in as we really get in towards the rush hour this evening, and that's when we can expect to see quite a bit more of those issues out on area roadways. And so again, please be vigilant out there throughout this event. I want to walk you through the hour-by-hour forecast here. Again, getting some of those returns, you can call them false returns, but it's really just snowflakes above, dry air beneath, not letting them get to the ground level. That will fade away as we head into this afternoon. Here's 2 o'clock, top of the next hour. I think we'll start seeing some of these snowflakes reach the surface. Notice those darker shaded colors towards Battle Creek, Marshall, Coldwater. Those are going to be what come in as we head into the evening hours, and so we get quite a bit more of this to spread in. Here's 6 o'clock, and you got especially Mason, Jackson, and probably even into Lansing too. We're going to see some very heavy bands of snow. This will reduce visibility certainly under a mile. I think at times it'll probably be under a half mile for at least brief durations, and in addition we're going to have it starting to cake the roads. That'll cause some issues out there, and so certainly only takes one person driving too fast, not paying any attention, to cause chain reactions. This is, of course, not to scare, but just to make aware. You see those pileups on big winter storms that happen on 96 or 94 where 30 cars are involved.
We just had that over the weekend.
That's usually not 25 people doing dumb things on the road. That's usually 1 or 2 people, and then everyone else ends up involved. So what you want to do, obviously, is be very defensive, leave yourself plenty of space, plenty of time to get to where you need to go, because roads are going to deteriorate quickly this evening. And to all those who I know will be out there who will say, this is Michigan, we deal with this all the time, we know, and you're so hardy, we love that you could live at the North Pole, but you know what? This is, again, for a lot of people, this is something that can cause some major impact and certainly will slow travel out there heading into this evening. We, of course, want everyone to have that first alert and be safe. So here's 10 p.m., still dealing with plenty of snow bands, and so this will just continue. Notice temperatures mid-20s throughout pretty much the duration of this event through midnight, lower 20s tomorrow morning, and upper teens as the system departs. And by 8 a.m. tomorrow, we may have dry skies above our heads, but at the surface, we're going to have a bunch of fresh powder between 4 and 7 inches, if you believe my forecast. And that's going to blow and drift around. We're going to get a wind to pick up tomorrow out of the west-northwest, changing direction from the dry easterly flow we're getting now. And that's going to, with gusts to 35 and maybe even 40 miles per hour, blow some of this snow around. So visibility tomorrow, even if it's not falling from the sky, snow is going to cause issues there too, and the roadways, again, the cleanup's going to take a while for back roads. I expect lots of school closures most likely to start coming in, and we'll get those, of course, to you today. And tomorrow afternoon, you see here a few lake effect snow showers. This isn't going to be a lot, maybe ½ inch to 1 inch, dust up the area one more time, so you may briefly start to see a little more accumulation tomorrow on Thursday afternoon before the system, or before this lake effect that follows the system does depart. We should be into a much quieter evening on Thursday as we get towards the sunset, and I won't even rule out maybe the sun peeking out right before it goes down on Thursday evening, but it might be tough to come by in some spots. But for the lucky few that see it, with all the fresh snow out there, might be a nice sight to behold, especially as the winds begin to die down. But nonetheless, there's another thing we want to watch out for in this forecast too after a dry Friday, and we'll be talking about that in a moment. Notice that with Friday's morning's temperatures, they could vary greatly depending on where we get pockets of clearing. In those places on this model, you see there are single digits. Areas that hold the clouds, we've got lower teens. I think we'll have, I made the low Thursday night 10 degrees. That's a blanket statement, and I mean that by if you are where the clouds are, you'll be low teens. If you're without the clouds, you'll be in the single digits. And so that'll just vary depending on location and how much snowpack you have in any one location. Now, predicted snowfall. Of course, this is what we've talked about a lot, and we're happy to answer any questions for certain locations with this. But I've got, by 8 p.m. on this model at least, a broad 2 to 4 inches, probably 2 to 3 headed into this evening, and then we tack on a little more heading into the overnight. A lot of us get into that 4 to 6 range. I think that's a pretty fair range for most of us, but as I mentioned, there will be an area somewhere where a heavy band sets up where they'll have 7, maybe 8 inches of snowfall. Most of us, though, it's this 4 to 6, and that's reflected in the range in our forecast. Now, before I show you this next part, I want to preface it by saying that we have a very quiet Friday. Watch the model run. Nothing through Friday, 7 p.m. We're at the same amount of snowfall, but we have another one we've been tracking in our first alert forecast towards this weekend, and I preface it because this is all encompassing. This system we're about to get and the weekend one. You'll watch these numbers jump as we get towards the weekend, up to 6 to 10 and even the 10 inches plus by the time we get to Sunday morning. That does not mean that we get 10 inches heading into the weekend. It's on top of what we're going to get here. So
literally on top of.
Yeah, so the widespread 4 to 6, which isn't going anywhere because it's cold, and then we'll tack on more snow headed out into the weekend. So this, if you just are seeing this image on your screen, it's just to show you that we have the potential there to maybe get another 4 to 6 inch type event heading into this weekend, and that's something we're going to be keeping very close eyes on in this forecast. And so once again, you still see spots over there, by the way, Adrian, Ann Arbor, even on this model, that are in that 6 to 10 range. So this 10 plus is pretty close to 10, and that's just one model is saying right now, and it's on top of what's coming today and tonight. And so that could be going through the whole weekend from Friday night to Sunday morning. That's almost a day period of 2 full days. You could have 4 to 6 inches. That's about 2 inches a day during that time. So not maybe a big dumping heavy snow, but again, by the time it's all said and done, temperatures will be cold, and this is something to keep in mind.
Well, earlier when you were looking at the precipitation, that kind of downriver area, saw a mix. Is it just going to be warmer down there, and that's why?
Yeah, so yes, if you get towards Monroe County, if you're towards the Detroit area, and I can go back and show that here in the hour by hour again. We'll notice as we get into parts of this event, you have that mixing sort of taking place down there. That's really going to be just some slightly warmer air trying to work in. The cold air is still at the surface with the northeast flow, but the warm system riding in, kind of like we did with our kind of mix event last week. You'll have a portion of the far southeastern area of that, and that's why in Monroe County they're not expecting quite as much snow, is because they do think some mixing of sleet and even a little freezing drizzle might take place. But you'll notice that coming in here as we head to 10 p.m., after we get through that time frame, especially for the folks down that way, it should revert back to all snow as it departs. And by the way, some very cold air spilling in. So I'll go through one more time quickly. Predicted snowfall just for this event. There's your 2 to 4 by this evening, and then there's your 4 to 6 by the time it's all said and done by the time we get through tomorrow morning. And again, we could, on top of that, get an additional maybe inch of lake effect, half inch to an inch. And so this encompasses all of that. So if you're waking up tomorrow morning, you got 4 or 5 inches outside. That's pretty much what we're expecting out of this. And there will be some compaction as well, as there always is with this system. But we are expecting, again, impacts to roads. And I wanted to quickly showcase the 10-day forecast for this reason. After that weekend system, which our eyes are on next, and we may be talking more with the First Alert branding about, look at President's Day and next week. We got some cold temperatures returning to the area, highs in the teens most days, and lots of single-digit lows heading out into the second half of this 10-day. And so we get the 1-2 punch of this system and the weekend one, and then the trifecta is get cold air for several days to follow. And so
at least they're not in the negatives.
No, and this isn't brutal, necessarily long-term dangerous cold. This is just miserable cold, I like to call it, because it's, of course, if you stay out there a really long time without any gloves or anything like that, it could be dangerous. But for most folks going in and out of what you need to do, as long as you're not working all day outdoors, this isn't going to be necessarily dangerous cold to you. But it is coupled with a lot of snow coming before it, so that snow doesn't have anywhere to go. It's not really going to be melting. A little compaction naturally happens, and if the sun pokes out, that helps too. But we're going to keep the snow that falls from this system and the weekend one for a while moving forward. And there's not any major warm-ups in our sight, even really before the month ends here. We're getting close to the halfway point of the month, since February is the shortest one. But it's looking like a very natural, classic mid-Michigan winter. If you're a snow or cold weather lover, you're going to rejoice at this forecast. If you're not, and you're already getting tired of this winter compared to the last mild ones we've had, I hate to tell you, by this time next week, you're going to be really tired of it. But we have some good news, and I want to share that with folks here in the next graphic. Our sunset tracker. As we go throughout these next few weeks, and this is the silver lining with everything. You notice we get further out. As soon as March starts, we got those 6:30 sunsets are back. They're just after 6 right now. But look at what happens in 4 weeks when we get into mid-March. 7:41. That's because that prior weekend, after March, the one that comes after March 5th, we spring forward back into daylight saving time, and we'll have those 7:41 will then be one of the earlier sunsets, and they'll stay later than that all the way until next fall, through the spring and summer. And so there's your happy glow, and if you're not looking forward to the cold and the winter weather and everything that's settling in, that maybe gives you a little glimmer of hope, quite literally, with the longer days, the later sunsets. Those are going to be coming. And by the way, the average temperature is going up now. It was 32 yesterday. It's 33 today. It's very slow. We are still very much in winter, and as you saw in the 10-day, it's very cold the next several days after the snows, but we are trending generally upwards from now on out all the way into July, and so we can expect warmer days ahead. We just had to be patient, as mid-Michigan residents know very well. That's all you can do in some winters, and this is one of them.
We do have a couple of questions. First of all, when will the snow start? When will it start coming down? Yeah,
so this looks like it's from Mary. Yes, we are. Oh, and happy birthday on the 19th, by the way. 1 week from today. Very nice. Next Wednesday. We're looking at snow starting in most areas between 2 and 3 o'clock today. It'll be moving in from west to east. So if you're in areas like Charlotte, Marshall, Coldwater, you're going to be seeing the snow in the next half hour to hour here. If you're east of Lansing, you get towards Bath Township, Perry, Okemos, Williamston, even Mason area and further off towards the east, you're looking at probably a little later than 2 o'clock. But either way, initially we might not see the snow start to stick right away when it's flying. But once it's able to overcome that air, the dry air that's preventing it from sticking initially, it'll start stacking up in a hurry when it does. And so that'll bring us the impacts into the evening that we're watching for. So this is kind of your get out of jail free card if you're looking to leave work early today and you want a good excuse.
I don't know if our bosses are going to allow that.
Well, not for us, but for anybody watching at home who has the ability and who's allowed and whatnot and all that, citing, of course, your own safety and well-being, because the roads are going to be pretty poor this evening. You're not going to, if you can avoid it, want to be on the roads 5 to 6 to 7 o'clock.
That's that right.
Unfortunately,
rush hour area.
Yeah, that's when a lot of people will be, and obviously the higher traffic on the road on a regular day, the more likely accidents are. But then you throw in reduced visibility, snowfall, and nowhere for the big amount of people to go, and then again, all it takes is one person not doing what they should be doing, and it can cause problems for a lot of folks. So again, just please be safe and vigilant. Have grace, I guess, with people out there who are in their trucks and SUVs doing 80 and trying to just move along.
Drivers who are nervous.
Yeah, I mean, and I say that with all seriousness because obviously these are why we first alert. These types of systems, we want folks to be aware, and so that's what we'll be doing going forward.
You mentioned the snow sticking. Is this going to be like a light, fluffy snow or a heavy snow, or is it going to change by Saturday?
You know what? It's kind of a middle ground, and I think Saturday's system is more of the same. So it depends on the different profile we have. We can get really, really dry, powdery, fine snows, and we can get really, really wet, heavy, tough to move, what we call like the heart attack type snow. This is just what I think people would call normal snow. It's kind of right in the middle. I mean, it's really just your classic, what you would think. It's not going to be quite as packable as the really dense heavy snow. It's not going to be quite as just flutter all over the place like the powdery snow, but there will be kind of a happy medium there. So we do expect blowing and drifting to still be an issue tomorrow, but it also will have the ability to stick, and so on surfaces it'll become a little bit of a slushy and sloppy mess. And again, with temperatures that are staying cold, staying below freezing, anything that isn't touched for a while will freeze up. And of course, have grace with the road crews as well out there, because as frustrated as some people might be to maybe not have their street done or have certain roads feel like they're up to speed, trust me when I say MDOT, everybody else, all the local city commissioners, everything, have those plows are going to be moving. Salt trucks are going to be working overtime, working hard. And it's not just this system, as I mentioned. It's that next one for the weekend. We're going to get walloped by quite a bit of snow over the next 5 days or so, and then cold weather to follow. And we're talking temperatures that at times the salt won't be effective. And so they're going to be working really hard the next few days to keep moving all the snow out of the way so that the roads are at least good by the time the cold, drier air settles in next week. So please just have patience with them as much as you can. I know that will go a long way as well. And just take your time getting to wherever you need to go. Travel plans, just stay up to date with our first alert forecast and adjust accordingly. Be safe out there.
And you mentioned the blowing. I know a couple first alert weather days that we recently had, the winds were a concern.
Right.
Are they going to be a concern this time
I
around?
think so. It seems like we'll have some gusts tomorrow, maybe touching 35, possibly up to 40 miles per hour. I think we'll see a lot in the 30 to 35 range. So not like a widespread power outage threat, but maybe some isolated, just because of if somebody gets really heavy snow, it is able to cake onto a tree, an old tree or something, and then it comes down. That's kind of stuff that we can't always fully be aware of. We try to do the best we can, but if there's enough snow on kind of older wood or anything like that that takes down a tree and happens to take out a power line, that'd be on an isolated basis. I don't think there's anything widespread we would expect from this. But the wind doesn't feel great in the winter time, and it definitely too can blow the snow around, and again that reduces the visibility. So I think most of the stuff with the wind, it's a road may already be cleared, but then you get a strong west wind gust and it blows some more of that snow and spreads it out onto a road that's already been cleared, and then you have more slippery areas there too. So it's even after the snow's fallen and the roads have been treated, they can then still look as if they're semi or untreated, even if they already really have been. So again, I'm sure all the resources will be working overtime to make sure that everybody's safe and that they have proper roads to drive on. So we'll be keeping eyes on it. Obviously, First Alert forecast updates. We have team coverage in our 90 Minutes of News, which is coming up. We'll do the same tomorrow morning when you wake up and join us. And then throughout the next couple of days, just be sure to check back in with us for updates on the weekend system, because it's too early for official snow totals, but there is potential there for it to be as much snow, maybe even a little more throughout the weekend than we're seeing from this event. And so tacking those two winter systems together could bring us quite a bit of snow. And so be sure to check back in for updates on that.
And I want to also let you guys know that on our website, WILX.com, there is a web article about what your responsibility is once all the snow stops, which includes, yes, you do have to clear it off of your car, front windshield, back windshield, headlights, and the hood and roof of your car, because you can't have the snow falling off of your car onto the roads.
Right.
You could also be sued if it hits somebody or damages another vehicle.
Right.
So we have some links on there. We also have the ordinances for several of the cities around here, because not all of them are the same. Most are, you have to have it gone within 24 hours of the snowfall, but some of them give you an additional 24 hours if it's more than 4 inches of snow and ice, and that is all for after the snowfall or ice has ceased. So you can go on our website and see that. We also have an article about CATA adjusting their routes for the next couple of days due to this, and a lot more information on there for everybody to look at. And then also we do have another question really quick. What is it going to look like tomorrow morning around 10:30 a.m.? Not sure what area Mary is in, but just overall.
Yeah, I think generally, no matter where you are, the bulk of all this heavy snow that we're seeing this evening and overnight going to be done by then, but then it becomes the blowing and drifting, maybe a little minor lake effect. Reduced visibility still going to be taking place, and the roads may at that time still not be the best, but I think the worst travel time for this whole event most likely will be this evening for the commute, and then followed closely by tomorrow morning's early morning commute, because they'll still be trying to clean up from everything, and there will still be blowing and drifting snow during that time. So I think both this evening's commute and tomorrow through the morning will be pretty rough go, but we could even into the afternoon see a couple issues, because we'll have that blowing and drifting and even some minor lake effects. So even though we won't add really any much more, maybe ½ inch to an inch during the day tomorrow, we will have the winds blowing whatever snow has fallen already around the area. So that's what we can expect, I would say, for tomorrow. And Mary, thank you for watching. We appreciate your questions and comments coming in.
And of course, anytime we're not here live answering your questions or on air, you can always download the First Alert Weather app to give you the latest information as well. Yeah,
and that's got, of course, interactive radar, all sorts of different alerts and banners that come in. It can be customized to your location, updates on traffic, very user-friendly. The live radar is both past, present, future. I mean, it really gives you pretty much everything you would need. And there are a lot of videos that we make of personalized regional forecasts that go onto there on a regular basis. And we update those many times throughout the day. I mean, you'll see on any given day, at least 3 out of the 4 members of the First Alert Weather team are on there doing an update around the clock. And so we're always providing those so that you can have them and have them available. And again, we appreciate being a source that you can trust for your First Alert forecast. And so that's something we take a lot of pride in and are always working to make the product better, make it as good as possible. So if you ever have any comments, questions, feel free to send us a message, and we're happy to address that in any way. So.
I wish I could zoom in, but I can't. Well, I could, but it's extremely difficult and tedious to do.
Right.
But another option under radar is road conditions.
Yes,
which is
yes.
a good one.
Yeah, and that's nice. Like I was, especially for traffic, things like that. With a system like this, it's really nice to be able to see what's going on in those roads, because you're going to see a lot of orange and yellow and red on those maps this evening. Even if there are no accidents, it's going to be very slow moving by this evening. So again, just budget some extra time, get where you need to go safely, and we'll keep your forecast updated.
Another question for those who just arrived a little late to the live: did the snow total change from the 4 inches to the 10? Can you explain how that is going to?
Oh yeah. So
again?
Sure, I can run back in our graphics to the hour by hour, or yes, and the predicted snowfall here, so we can show you this. this is one of the models of what we're seeing, and I think it best encapsulates what we expect. I've got 2 to 4 inch snowfall by the time we get in through this evening rush, and then maybe an additional little bit overnight. So on a broad scale, the range we've been giving officially over there is 4 to 7 inches. Most of us, this is a 4 to 6 inch snow. We're pretty comfortable in that bottom end being 4. It's probably close to 5 most places and pretty broad, but there will be an area that develops a thicker snow band, which again is really, really difficult to figure where that will set up based on the conditions once the event is going on. That could be upwards of 7 inches. That will not be most of us. We're expecting that a lot of us will be around that 5 to maybe 6 inch range. We feel pretty comfortable again with the floor of that range being 4. That's been pretty consistent throughout the week. Even when we were going 4 to 8, 4 to 7, you know, we've been pretty consistent about that 4. It's a pretty healthy snow for quite a few hours that'll be coming down across the area. So 4 to 6 on a broad scale, with some as much as 7 plus. So that's where we get our 4 to 7 inch range, if you're wondering. And it is a range. I love to remind people of that too, just because people tend to gravitate towards the higher number, and I understand.
Yeah.
I get it why.
That's why it's there.
It's a more fun number for people to say, we're going to get 10 inches if they see a 6 to 10 inch snowfall, and then when they get 6, they go up busted. It's obviously it's something that we take very seriously, and when we make these considerations too.
So that's the initial snowfall that's going to be happening shortly. Will you go to the Saturday where we mentioned?
Sure, yes, of course. Yes,
what will be?
Yeah, so this is then going through Friday. You see nothing more gets really added, and then we get out into Friday night. And again, this is on top of what we've already got. And you see these numbers inflate a little more, the 6 to 10, and then even the 10 plus. But to be honest, those 10 pluses are about as close to 10 flat as you can get, with some of the 6 to 10 range still down there. This is carrying us through Sunday morning. And we're expecting snow from Friday night into Saturday, and then even in many spots through Sunday morning as well. So that'll be probably another day and a half to 2 days straight where we've got continuous snowfall, maybe in the amounts of another 4 to 6 inch type event, or more or less, just depends on the forecast track, and we're going to be adjusting that. So we're not trying to hang our hat too much on it now, but with the snow not going anywhere, by the time we get through this weekend, this is an idea in some places of how much could fall, and could it be close to double-digit inches, perhaps, or it could be 7 or 8, or it could be 12. I mean, there's still a lot up in the air about that. So be sure to check back in for updates with us on that Friday night to Saturday system, because a lot could and likely will change with that as it approaches. Of course, we'll give you the updates as soon as they come in. That's our job and what we take a lot of pride in. So be sure to check back with us on that.
One more time, just want to remind of the first weather app for those who just came in. Great way to stay informed when we're not here on the live or we're not on air. Have it with you, and you can even set alerts for your area.
Yeah. Great tool to have.
Ross asked a question, kind of, I think what we were talking about just a little bit ago. Is the snow going to stay soft, or is it going to be packed down? It's a question a lot of people have when we get snow, because we could get anything.
Jokes. Yes. Yes. That's a good question. I think we probably will see some compaction of this. I don't think it just gets like really crazy. There will still be loose enough for the top layer to be blown around, but the bottom layer that's under the rest of the snow that falls will pack in pretty good. And I think that probably takes a little while to leave the area, because as we said, that cold air is going to follow not just this first event, but the second one this weekend. Gets very, very chilly after that for several days. Again, not dangerous cold necessarily, but you're talking teens highs, single-digit lows, and below zero wind chills. And if that's around for a while, even if there's hints of sun here and there, it's going to take a while to get rid of 6 to 8 to 10 inches of snow when it's all said and done, whatever these two systems give us. And so I do think it'll be around for a while when it comes to this snow. But I do think, it's going to be, we said it earlier if you relate to the stream, but it's going to be a very normal feeling snowfall. I know that sounds funny, but instead of that very fine powder or that really, really dense, you squeeze a snowball so tight you can almost wring the water out of it, it's going to be between that, a very average density snow in the amount of fluff that it has. So very, very normal amount of snow. So it'll stay soft on the top layer but pack down on the bottom layer, if that answers your question. Hopefully it does. If not, I'll try to get back to this later and and answer that as well.
All right.
So.
Well, you've got just about an hour and a half-ish to get ready for Studio 10.
Yes.
Have some updates on there. And then Andy, of course, will be here for our 90 minutes of news. It starts with News 10 first at 5.
Yes.
And, yeah, anything else you think?
No, just that, yeah, we've got team coverage all throughout the evening. I think Zachariah Wheaton, I believe, is going to be out on the roads. Andy and I are both going to be talking about the snow. We've got team coverage from reporters and producers all over the place, making sure you're prepared and informed of what's going on while it's happening. So hopefully you're able to watch us this evening and kind of hunker down and stay indoors, not have to move around too much, and that'll be good. If you do have any evening events or plans that haven't been canceled, maybe not a bad idea to consider canceling them yourself, so long as you don't need to travel very far for very long, because it's going to be tough moving around this evening.
Yep, and you can live stream us, of course. If you're not near a TV,
sure,
or you're stuck someplace, hop online, click live stream at that top bar, and that top channel that's highlighted in red right there, that's where you'd want to find us. So if you have any other questions after this live has ended, go ahead and ask in the comments and we'll get back to you. Other than that, stay tuned to the app and our news that starts with, actually, technically, Studio 10 at 3 o'clock. So thank you, Justin, for all this.
Of course.
We'll be back probably tomorrow with an update on what we're seeing and what is still to come. Thank you guys for tuning in, and stay safe out there.